Everything is either an expression of love or a call for love. A Course in Miracles. One.
Who's number 2? Okay.
I'm number 2, and it says, love will find the solution to every problem, will answer every question. It is the lotus stone of life, the center of reality, the heart of the universe, and it will ultimately win and vanquish every foe. Ernest Holmes in Creative Living, page 62.
3. Love walks in and opens the doors when all else fails. There is no problem on earth that love can't heal. Love is the answer to every human need. Jack and Karina addiction in your needs met in age 94.
Number 4.
Gandhi resisted evil with as much vigor and power as the violent resistor, but he resisted with love instead of hate. True pacifism?
Yes.
I can't.
Pacifism.
Is not unrealistic submission to evil power. It is rather courageous confrontation of evil by the power of love. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.
Number 5.
Yes. Love taketh not account of evil. Love never sees anything wrong, that which is love, which it loves. If it did, it would not be pure love. Pure love is without discriminating power. It simply pours itself out upon the objects of its affection and takes no account of the results. By doing so, love sometimes casts its pearls before swine. But its power is so great that it transforms all that it touches. That's by Charles Fillmore in Talks on Truth, page 56.
6. Love takes more than crystals and rainbows. It takes discipline and practice. It's not just a sweet sentiment from a Hallmark card. This radical commitment to a different way of being. A mental response to life that is completely at odds with the rest of the world. Marianne Williamson in Return to Life. Love is the grandest healing and drawing power on earth. It is the very reason for our being. No one can swing out into the universe without love, for the whole universe is based upon it. Ernest Holmes, Science of Mind, page 298.
Number 8, the day will come when, after harnessing space, the winds, the tides, and gravitation, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And on that day, for the second time in history of the world, we shall have discovered fire. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, a 19th century French monk and mystic.
Number 9. It is well to say that God is unbounded, unlimited love. God is our love. There is an instinctive seeking of all things for love. Love is another name for life. Emma Curtis Hopkins, Scientific Christian Mental Practice, page 24. There is no difficulty that enough love will not conquer. No disease that enough love will not heal. No door that enough love will not open. No gulf that enough love will not bridge. No wall that enough love will not throw down. No wrong that enough love will not set right. It makes no difference how deeply seated may be the trouble, how helpless the outlook, how muddled the tangle, how great the mistake. A sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. If only you will love enough, you will be the happiest, most powerful being in the world. Emmett Fox. These are pretty powerful statements, aren't they? Those are 10 of my favorite quotes about love out of the trillion that are available. Wanted to throw some Shakespeare in there too, but there just wasn't enough time. I know that we've already talked about the one earlier this month by Teilhard de Chardin, because that was one that I quoted because it does make it into my top 10 list. And because it's so special, I just wanted to share that again this morning. I think the last line I just read encapsulates beautifully our theme for this month. If we only loved enough, we would be the happiest, most powerful beings in the world. If we only loved enough, we certainly would love our lives, wouldn't we? We would love our lives. And if we only loved enough, we would have a powerful, powerful hand in the upward spiral of the evolution of humanity, wouldn't we? The first week of this month, we focused on loving others. Last week, our focus was on self-love, and today we're going to roll up our sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty work of it all. See, Suzanne's ready. All right. Those words may seem a little contradictory to the idea of love, but as Marianne Williamson wrote, love takes more than crystals and rainbows. It takes discipline and practice. It's not just a sweet sentiment from a Hallmark card. It is a radical commitment to a different way of being, a mental response to life. It takes spiritual and emotional maturity, and sometimes it's just darn difficult. Why? Because when it matters the most to love is usually the time when we least feel like it. I love the statement from environmentalist Van Jones, and this was said in a talk at the Agape's Revelation. When it's harder to love, love harder. Wow. And I will tell you, we've had some challenges with a little 3-year-old that sometimes makes it difficult to want to love, but we realize she's just 3 and she's dealing with a lot of things, and it's our job to just love harder. So I want to give you another story to illustrate this. It's from Alan Cohen's book, Daily Dose of Sanity. On February 14th, that might be a good one, right? On February 14th, he wrote, one morning a pair of peacocks showed up at our back door of our home in the country and adopted us. The two were a mated pair, inseparable. The two were quiet, curious, and gorgeous to behold, so we decided to let them stay. We named them Romeo and Juliet. One afternoon, I walked out onto the patio and startled Juliet. Flustered, she flew to the other side of the house, out of Romeo's sight. Suddenly, she began to honk loudly, and Romeo responded. Separated, the two tried to locate each other by calling each other repeatedly. The honking went on for about 20 minutes, until Juliet found her way back around the house, and they had a glorious reunion. Cohen goes on to write, those two birds taught me a supreme lesson about love. Their natural state, I realized, was togetherness. When they got separated, they were out of their natural state, and the honking began. They were each calling to their beloved. So how does this story illustrate what I just said? Well, our natural state is love. Our natural state is love. That is who and what we are. We are made in the image and likeness of the supreme essence of love. We are love with a capital L. We are love. It is the very reason for our being, to quote Dr. Holmes. But when we feel separated from love, love of God, love of self, love of others, it hurts and we ache and we are in pain. And when we are in pain, we start to honk. Sometimes literally, more often figuratively. And when others are feeling separated from love, the love of God, love of self, love of others, they honk as well. And it may look and feel very much like they are honking at you. That is the time to remember the words in the Course in Miracles. Everything is either an expression of love or a call for love. Everything is either an expression of love or a call for love. The perfect time to love is the very moment when you might be tempted to do just the opposite. When someone has wronged you or is resisting you. When someone shouts at you and comes at you with angry words, how do you react? How do you react? Often it's a habit how we react, right? When you go into a stressful situation with your family, how do you respond? When you are frustrated with another, how do you behave? When we think that love is a feeling, and it is, we have to realize that it is also a verb. Love is a behavior. Love is the way we show up. the things we do, the way we speak, the way we treat one another. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of an upsetting situation and asked, what would love do here? What would love do here? Anybody had that experience? Have you ever asked, what would love do here? What happened when you asked that? Did you get an
I never
answer?
asked it.
Is there a situation in your life that you could ask that question now? What would love do here? What would love do here? Remember what Marianne Williamson says in A Return to Love. We are either coming from love or we are coming from fear. Wow, that is a good question to ask. When we respond to something that doesn't feel good, are we coming from love or are we coming from fear? And why are we afraid? What is there to be afraid of? For isn't everything God, right? I really think often that fear is our default setting, and rightly so. Because if you think back on where we came from evolutionary-wise, we needed fear to survive. But I think we have evolved past that as a knee-jerk response anyway. But it is our default setting oftentimes. Let's face it, most of the news and our headlines are written to create fear, right? Right? They're not, you know, turn on the TV and they're not, although I have to say, on one of the news shows, they always end it with a positive note. Somebody who's feeding the homeless, or someone who's helped or developed something to help a handicapped person, or just something that makes you have faith in the world. But boy, for the 29 minutes before that last minute, it's all attention-grabbing stuff that makes you just tense up. When we stop and ask where we are coming from, we stop that automatic response and we break the trance. We break the trance. So what I've learned to do when I watch the news is I rewrite it in my head. And I say, that's not the truth. That is not the truth. If something that I know is not the truth, I'd say, that's not the truth. I know that we are all one. I know that while the appearance is such and such, the bigger picture is a much, much brighter, much more happier, loving situation. There's a prayer, a famous prayer by St. Francis. I know you've all know it. And it reads, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in the giving that we receive. It is in the pardoning that we are pardoned. It is the dying to self that we are born to eternal life. You and I get to be an instrument of love today. If we don't make ongoing conscious choices to be instruments of love by default, we may well be instruments of separation. I invite you to heed the words of modern-day mystic Deepak Chopra in his book, The Path to Love. Come from love every moment you can. That's a great challenge, isn't it? Come from love every moment you can. Never let go of your commitment to love. Speak the language of love with yourself and with others. And know beyond a shadow of doubt, know that you are loved. You are truly loved. Because whatever the question is, love is the answer each and every time. And so it is.